Wow, here we are, the very last episode of my 2024 offseason plan for all NFL teams. We're here at the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning two-time in a row Super Bowl champs. It means a lot, man. This has been a great series I've been able to do. It's spanned the entire month of February, and I'm kind of sad it's gone, but I'm excited to move into the next part of the offseason. So if you guys did enjoy this series, please leave a like on the video. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like on the video. Leave a comment down below. Hit the notification button to be notified when I post next. Let's get into this video of the Kansas City Chiefs and their off-season plan. I don't know. I don't know. But so Chiefs obviously just won the Super Bowl. They're currently at positive $17 million when it comes to the cap space going into free agency. So this is pre-cuts or trades. So the first cut or trade we'll be doing is Marquez Valdes-Scantling, MVS. He had 315 yards and a touchdown this regular season. He came up big in the playoffs, but not really. I mean, sorry. He came up big in the playoffs. Didn't really come up big in the regular season. Only 300 yards in the regular season. Not worth a darn in the regular season, as I said. You can get the same production, if not more, from a rookie contract of a guy with a similar build. So this wide receiver class is very deep. I think that is very possible to get someone who can get 300 yards and a touchdown from a rookie contract, and not $12 million on the cap space. You know what I mean? So I had to say, you know what? Let's just cut our losses to MVS. He got 2 Super Bowls out of us. MVS, have a good time. Thank you for those big catches in the playoffs, but we have to move on from you. We saved $12 million releasing MVS. Then I'm going to be cutting Charles Omenihu as well. This year he had 17 tackles, 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 13 stops. He was a productive rotational edge rusher for us. I'm saying us, obviously, as a Chiefs front office. But, we have guys that, like Felix Anudike-Uzomah, George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, other guys that we've drafted later in the rounds that I think can come in, and the collective of them can get the same amount of minutes out of him. He did tear his ACL in the playoffs, so there's going to be a hamper on him being playing next year, so even more incentive to let him go. You drafted Felix Anudike-Uzomah in the first round last year. You're hoping that a year of sitting basically and just learning the NFL is to be good for his development, and he can start for you next year. If not, replace Charles Omenihu's minutes as a rotational pass rusher. You need to lean on cheap contracts to sustain success. And George Karlaftis is one of the. Charles Omenihu is just one of those guys that you can't really have on your roster long term when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, especially when you have 2 guys on the defensive side of the ball who need big contracts. You can't have Charles Omenihu $7 million on there. So we are cutting him, saving $7.2 million. And here's my restructures. So as you know, restructures, if you're not on the team in 2 years, I don't restructure you. So I think either they're going to be on the team in 2 years or get retired within the next 2 years. But Mahomes, obviously going to be on the team. $35.6 million we open up restructuring him. And Joe Thuney, restructure him for 7.3. He might retire after next year. Might try and go with a 3-peat and then retire on top as the best team of all time. Then after those restructures, $43 million. I think that's really big for the Kansas City Chiefs to get that $43 million in restructures and go from positive 16.7 to positive $80 million this offseason. And the first thing we're doing is re-signing Chris Jones. I think this has to be the number one priority for this team is the 2 guys that I'm going to try and re-sign. Is I'm going to work out their structure where they're both the highest paid. Well, I mean, they might be the highest paid at their position, but they might compete for that highest paid player. Chris Jones has to compete for that highest paid player. And as you can see, he does eclipse it in 2027. So the average out is not number 1, but it's number 3. And then at the most, he does beat Aaron Donald's 31.1 million. I think Aaron Donald's cap is for how much he can earn, and 31.2 is the max for Chris Jones. So it would be technically the highest paid defensive player of all time. But last season, he had 10 tackles, 14 sacks, and 21 stops in the regular season. He's the most important piece of this defense. Yes, I love L'Jarius Sneed. Yes, I love Trent McDuffie. Yes, I love the linebackers. But if Chris Jones isn't playing well, no production's getting, there's nothing you can do, right? It all stems from Chris Jones and being dominant on the defensive line. Both sides want to work out this deal. After the Super Bowl parade, Chris Jones was saying, I'm staying. And obviously the Chiefs want to keep winning. Chris Jones is a big part of them winning. There's no replacement on the roster as of right now, and there probably won't ever be a replacement on the roster because you can't just draft Chris Jones every year because every team will just draft Chris Jones every year. But I gave him a 4-year, $92 million deal, $65 million guaranteed. That is 71% guaranteed. So I gave him basically the first 2 years fully guaranteed. That 3rd and 4th year are partial guarantees. They can always restructure to fully guarantee it. But as you can see, it caps out at 31.2. So it does technically cap out as the number 1 paid defender of all time. But it averages out to not being that. But That's what I think for Chris Jones. I think it makes a lot of sense for both sides to work out a deal and try and continue this dominance that they've had. Then why is it Jajarius? Why did I put Jajarius, not Legarius? So Legarius Sneed, he had 65 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 23 stops this past season. He's one of the best lockdown corners in the NFL. His first year or two, he was still really good, but he's underrated. But the last year or two, since they won back-to-back Super Bowls, he's kind of thought of now as a top corner in the NFL, as he deserved. He deservingly needed. I actually thought Rashad Fenton was going to develop more than Legarius Sneed. What a dummy, I guess. But he can take a hometown discount to stay. I don't think he should. I think he should ask for every dollar he deserves. But Chris Jones, he's obviously an all-pro, Pro Bowl D tackle for the last 3 or 4 years. Legarius Sneed is just now having his comeuppance, so maybe he doesn't take as much money. He doesn't become the number 1 corner. I believe it's number 8 or number 9 corner money. And the reason I don't want to pay him as much is because Trent McDuffie has become his potential replacement. McDuffie was elite this year, right? Like, he was locked down. He was great in run defending. He was great in pass defending. He was one of my highest ranked corners in the 2022 draft. So I was actually really shocked he fell to what, 30? I think he fell to. And I was really shocked. I thought he was a really good corner. But Chiefs steal him. He's developed really well with them. So I think that you've shown a pattern that you can develop corners really well, and you have the guy to replace him. So I think if Legarius wants to stay, he's got to take a hometown discount. Gave him a 3-year, $58 million deal, $38.5 million guaranteed, 66% guaranteed, and I add 2 void years to stretch out as much as I can. Again, another guy that at his peak is the highest paid corner in a season at 24.8. I believe the highest right now is 22. So at his peak, he becomes the highest paid corner in the NFL. But over longevity wise, it is only a $58 million deal. But yeah, I think it's also fair for Legarius Sneed. I think he definitely deserves probably 22 to 24 million a year, but he evens out to about 20 million a year, and it caps out at 24.8. Number 1 corner in that. Now that season, he'll be the number 1 paid corner. And again, Trent McDuffie's on his rookie contract for another 3 years. This is the 3-year contract that you can have Trent McDuffie and Legarius Sneed on your team. And after that, you can decide, do we want a 30-year-old Legarius Sneed or a 26-year-old Trent McDuffie? You can decide if you want to do that. But I think you can keep both guys with no issues. Then maybe re-sign McCole Hardman as well. McCole Hardman had 15 receptions, 124 yards, no touchdowns in the regular season, but obviously in the playoffs played a big part. He had a poor regular season in New York, was traded back to the Kansas City Chiefs. I honestly think the Chiefs wanted to keep him in free agency last year, but the Jets wanted to give him a what was it? Was it a 1 for 9, a 1 for $8 million deal? And I think they probably want to re-sign to a multi-year, like $5 million deal. And he wanted, like, what? Let me get out of the system, see if I can, prove it and get a bigger deal next offseason. It didn't happen. He comes back to KC for like a 6th-round pick, and it came out big for KC in the Super Bowl and in the playoffs. I think they want to keep McCole Hardman around. I think he's going to want to stay now. He's finally back where he played well. He can stay for cheap to run it back. Give him a $3.5 million deal. Say, you know what, McCole, have another regular season with us. Get 600 to 800 yards, 4 to 6 touchdowns. And if you want to re-sign, you can. But maybe next offseason you get a bigger deal elsewhere. I think it makes a lot of sense for both sides as well. Then Willie Gay Jr., the linebacker. He had 43 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble, and 24 stops this past season. He's become a key part of this linebacker core and his defense. He's still only 26 years old. You have Nick Bolton. You have Willie Gay. I think those are 2 really good linebackers in the NFL. And you also have, who is their other linebacker? You also have Leo Chenal. That's who it is. You also have Leo Chenal. So Leo Chenal can play Sam linebacker, while Willie Gay does play Sam will linebacker. But Leo Chenal was a will linebacker in college I believe when he came out in 2022. I believe he was a will linebacker in college. But they've been able to play Willie Gay and Leo Chenal on the field at the same time. Why mess with that? Just keep it going. They play really well together. You had Nick Bolton hold down Mike linebacker. Makes a lot of sense to me. But lots of experience with this defense. Obviously, he's been with the team for the last 4 years. I think it makes a lot of sense to keep Willie Gay. He can hold down another part of this core for not too expensive money either. I gave him a 2-year, $14.5 million deal. And, what was it? $10 million guaranteed. So you guarantee about 68% of it. Makes a lot of sense. Keep a core guy that's been with the team the last 4 years. I believe he's been a part of 2 Super Bowls. He's developed every year. He's become a really good run blocker. A run defender. I think it makes a lot of sense to keep Willie Gay. Then at free agency, we have $57.6 million in free agency. insane amount of money. The first free agent I'm going to be going after is Tyron Smith. Like, I think it makes too much sense for these teams that are, in the last 8 picks of the NFL draft, like the top 8 teams that were left in the playoffs. Most of them need a left tackle. Tyron Smith, leave Dallas, go chase a Super Bowl, right? He had 84 PFF grade, 89 pass blocking, 71 run blocking, 3 penalties and 1 sack allowed. He's a Hall of Fame left tackle. Like, this is a guy that, like Donovan Smith last year, he's gonna be a free agent for one of the first times in his career. He can shop around and he'll choose the guys that help him win a Super Bowl because he's a Hall of Famer with no ring. So I think he wants to win a ring before retiring. The Chiefs want to run it back and try and three-peat. Why not replace Donovan Smith at left tackle? And boom, you're the left tackle who is a Hall of Famer for the Chiefs, who's better than Donovan Smith, and now you have a Super Bowl ring. Or you can at least try and get that Super Bowl ring. It's time for $11 million. Donovan Smith was paid $12 million last year. But I think Tyron Smith, again, he's a little older than Donovan Smith was. But I think he'd also do $12, $13 million, whatever. I thought 11 was fair. But yeah, I'm willing to pay him a little more to make him come to KC. Then I'm going to be signing Tyler Boyd as well, the wide receiver from the Cincinnati Bengals. Past season, he had 67 receptions, 667 yards he had, and 2 touchdowns. He's a great number 2, number 3 receiver, but there were years in 2018 and 2019, post AJ Green prime, pre T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, that Tyler Boyd had the signs of being a number 1 wide receiver. He had back-to-back 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns over those 2 years. This is the guy who could be a wide receiver 1, and he decided to say, you know what? Let me take my 3 or 4 year deal and just play my role and try and win a Super Bowl with Cincinnati. It didn't work out. Now the Cincinnati's got to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd's going to get let go. And I think Tyler Boyd is going to want to get paid as a number 1 wide receiver because he has that ability, but he's been set in a role for the last 3 years. I think Tyler Boyd is going to want to go to KC. I'm not going to say he's the number 1 receiver, but get number 1 receiver snaps, right? He's going to be consistently on the field every play, every passing play. I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to love Tyler Boyd. I think Tyler Boyd can be a really big part of winning the championship. Again, sign a short-term deal, have 9,000 yards, maybe 8 touchdowns, and next season go somewhere else, get that big-time deal, one last big-time deal, and compete for a championship. 1 year, $7 million makes a lot of sense for Tyler Boyd. Then we're going to be going to the draft. So I decided not to spend a whole lot of money, whether it's going to be rollover cap for next year. If you want to go and extend some guys that are up for extensions, for example, are Nick Bolton. Mike Dana is still someone that I decided to let go, but you could always bring Mike Dana back. Your offensive line, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, you're going to need extensions. I'm trying to see, is there anyone else? Yeah, so Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton's going to need an extension as well. You could extend, you could if you wanted to. I'm trying to find where he was. Where is he? I just saw his name and then I lost it. You could extend Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well if you want to bring him back. Jarek McKinnon as well if you want to bring him back. Noah Gray, a current backup tight end, has played pretty well if you want to bring him back. There's a couple guys that you could always bring back, but I think that, I decided to save that money and just work on extensions in the offseason. But I decided not to do the extension in this video. This is an offseason plan, not a 2024-5 offseason plan. But yeah, $41 million. You can always go and sign more guys. You can have it res rollover, whatever you want to do. So this is my draft class. I think it's a really good draft class. At 32, I'm going to be grabbing Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona. I did consider trading down because both JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix were available at 32. And I see one of those guys as a potential trade up, like a Lamar Jackson at 32, where a team trades up, drafts him for that 5th-year deal. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just take Jordan Morgan, who is a premier tackle. I'm not going to say he's a blue chip tackle, because I think there is still a lot of room for improvement. But he's a starting level left tackle that you could draft and start left tackle. But because I signed Tyron Smith, I want him to sit behind a Hall of Famer. Just straight up. I want him to learn as much as he can behind Tyron Smith and next season take over. He's 6'6", 320, played left tackle pretty well at Arizona. He excels at pass protection, but he's still good at run blocking as well. But Jordan Morgan, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Chiefs. Why did I say KC? I think it makes a lot of sense for the Chiefs to draft him. Again, future left tackle option. You have Jawan Taylor at right tackle. And then you have your interior offensive line of Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and then 64 Christian Haynes. I think it makes a lot of sense to continuously improve this offensive line for Patrick Mahomes. Because at 64, I'm doing that as well with Christian Haynes out of Connecticut. Christian Haynes, another starting level left guard right out of the draft. But because Joe Thuney is there, I decided, you know what? We're going to draft him and sit him for another year. I think Christian Haynes and Jordan Morgan learn behind two. I'm not going to say, Joe Thuney is a for sure Hall of Famer, but I think he has like 4 or 5 rings. Like, how many does he have? Joe Thuney Super Bowl rings. He has like 4 or 5, right? He has 2017, 2019, 2023, and 2024. He has 4 Super Bowl rings. Wow. That is insane. He has 4 Super Bowl rings as a left guard in the NFL. Hey, more power to you, man. You might get a 5th this year. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense for Christian Haynes to learn beneath Joe Thuney, who is a really good guard for the Patriots before coming to the Chiefs. Had a great career. I think there is a small chance he can somehow make the Hall of Fame because he was he's 33 years old and still playing at a very high level. He's one of the best left guards in the NFL, and he's won 4 Super Bowls. I think there is an outside shot he makes the NFL, makes the Hall of Fame. So, you have Jordan Morgan and Christian Haynes, who both excel at pass protection and are both good at run blocking. Learning behind 2 Hall of Famers, yes, please. Sit them for another season. If Joe Thuney retires after this season, cool. If not, you can move on from Joe Thuney, have Christian Haynes step up. Same with Tyron Smith. Try and win a Super Bowl. If you do, awesome. He can retire. If you don't, cool. Jordan Morgan takes over next season, and you got a really young offensive line. Then at 95, we're taking one of my guys, Javon Solomon, out of Troy. He's one of my favorite pass rushers. He's an elite pass rusher prospect, and he uses that athleticism and excellence at pass protection to then use that as also a good run defender. He definitely is a better pass rusher than run defender. But Javon Solomon, he's one of my guys. I truly believe if he gets to the right system that utilizes him correctly as a 3-4 outside linebacker, 4-3 DNs, probably more of an outside linebacker with his size. So I believe he's 6'2", 245. Sounds more like a 3-4 outside linebacker. But I can replace Charles Omenihu's role. And Charles Omenihu, who is 29, 30 years old and has so much mileage on his body, had 7 sacks in his role. I think Javon Solomon can come in, replace Charles Omenihu immediately, and get 9, 10, 11 sacks year 1. Like, his motor and drive, that no matter what happens during the play, he's going to keep going after the quarterback. He's going to keep going after the running back to get TFLs. Like, his motor is unmatched in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round of guys. I think wherever he goes, he's going to succeed. So if he gets to the Chiefs, it suck. Yes, it suck, but I think they could really make the most of Javon Solomon. Then at 133, I'm going to be grabbing Mason Smith, a pass rushing D tackle out of LSU. He needs to get better at run defending. I think if he adds more muscle onto his body, he already has the wide enough frame to be good at to be a good run blocker. But I think run defender. But he needs to get a little more muscle so he doesn't get moved around in the run defending in the run game. So I feel like he gets abused by centers and guards too much to like rely on him heavily. But as a pass rusher, he knows when the lanes open up and when to jump them. Again, he has the frame. He needs to get the muscle to not get moved around at that D tackle position. I'm not gonna say he's a solution to Chris Jones long term, but he can definitely play a role in saying, you know what, Chris Jones, you're 34 years old. We have Mason Smith that we like who can play, a similar role to you. We're gonna move on from you 2 or 3 years from now. Then at 158, I'm gonna be grabbing Jaheim Bell from Florida State University. Jaheim, he's a receiving tight end with run blocking upside. I see him in that Travis Kelce role. He's not as good as a run blocker as like a Dalen Holker or an AJ Barner or Ben Sinnott. He's not gonna be like a George Kittle tight end. I think Travis Kelce is an okay comp. Don't know if it's the greatest. I have more of a David Njoku, but I think still receiving tight end who has run blocking upside, who's very athletic, has a wide catch radius. He's great in open space. Sounds a lot like Travis Kelce. And again, of these, like, you have a bunch of older veterans that are getting paid a lot of money now. You got to start getting ready for them to retire, like, right? Travis Kelce's 34, 35 years old. He's dating a superstar. Like, his off the field life is getting more interesting. Because he has new heights now. Like, there are things outside of football now that are intriguing. And I think if they three-peats, I think there's a shot that a lot of guys retire. I think Joe Thuney could retire. I think there's a shot Travis Kelce could retire. Like, I think there is a shot that a couple guys do retire if they three-peat of those older veterans. And I think that Jaheim Bell, let him sit for a year or two behind Travis Kelce, become a true tight end in the NFL, and year 3, he can blossom as that replacement of Travis Kelce. Then 172, Nehemiah Pritchett from Auburn. Nehemiah he's a good zone corner in the 5th round. Nothing that's gonna blow you out of the water. He's just a good guy. 6'1", 184, has a good size of being outside corner. You have Trent McDuffie on a rookie deal for 3 more years. I re-signed L'Jarius Sneed for 3 more years. I think it'd be interesting to grab a guy like Nehemiah Pritchett to be that slot corner, or that oversized slot corner who's good at zone and an okay run defender, and just develop him, right? And we've seen them be able to develop late round guys, whether it's Jalen Warren is his name, Jalen Watson. I can't remember, but the corner that was a 5th round pick a year or 2 ago that's developed into a pretty solid role player. I think Nehemiah Pritchett can also be another good zone run defending corner for them. Then at 210, grabbing Dominic Lovett and Bryson Nesbitt at 250. I decided to grab my wide receivers in the 7th round because I think their starters are pretty solidified. You'd have McCole Hardman, you had you're gonna have Rashee Rice, and I brought in Tyler Boyd. You got your starting 3 set, right? So now let's grab some role players that I think can play roles for your team. Dominic Lovett out of Georgia. He's a 5'10" receiver that's good in space. I see him more as a slot gadget guy more than an outside receiver. He's going to pair well with Rashee Rice's skill. He's not, it's not the same skill set, copy and pasted. He gets separation from defenders really well and really often. He knows how to, move around the field to get separation. I see him as a 400 to 600 yard guy with 2-3 touchdowns a season. If you average out his, if that's what I expect his role to be, is that chain mover on 2nd down, 3rd down, and 3. Just get 3 or 4 yards in the air. I think Dominic Lovett could thrive in that. Maybe have 40, 50 yards a game, but they're always crucial 40, 50 yards, right? Then Bryson Nesbitt at 250. He's my replacement to MVS, a big body, deep threat receiver who's not afraid to get contact and get extra yardage, who can also not be excel at a route tree, but the routes that he does run, he runs them well. He's a jump ball guy who has great speed. I like Bryson Nesbitt. He's 6'5", a 6'5" receiver in the 7th round. I'm going to bet money on every day of the week. He can replace MVS right away. He has similar speed, a similar body type. He'd be great in the red zone. He has a willingness to take hits to gain extra yardage. I like Bryson Nesbitt. I don't see him as a 7th round pick. I see him more as an early day 3, like a round 4, round 5 guy. I don't understand why you keep having him in the 6th and 7th round, but yeah, that's my draft. I think it's really good for the Chiefs. They have Jordan Morgan and Christian Haynes as guys who are going to sit for a year behind 2 Hall of Famers. Javon Solomon can come in immediately and get 8, 9, 10 sacks year 1. Mason Smith, a rotational D tackle, who's more of a pass rusher. Jaheim Bell, a potential replacement for Travis Kelce in the future. Nehemiah Pritchett, role-playing zone corner. Dominic Lovett and Bryson Nesbitt, both guys who can play a role in this wide receiver core. Of Dominic, more that slot guy who can do some end arounds and do some screens, and Bryson Nesbitt, that intermediate to deep ball guy who's 6'5", who could excel in the red zone. I think it makes a lot of sense for what they did. But yeah, again, they have $47 million. I did not touch. If they want to go out and sign a bunch of 1-year deals and stack this team as much as they can go and do that. But that's what I decided to do. Have some rollover, extend some guys. If you guys did enjoy, please do like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I post next. And if you enjoyed this series, let me know. I can't wait for next year to redo it all over again. I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.